Hello everybody, welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 3, episode 20. And as mentioned in the previous episodes, I'm going to be on the road quite a bit throughout the month, at least in the beginning of June. And heading up Ottawa, that was last night, and coming up tomorrow evening, June 3rd, we're going to be doing a TYT Connect, which is a publicly facing networking event. So if you're entrepreneur, business owner, investor, come out, mingle, meet new people, deepen the existing relationships. And on the 7th, we're actually going to London, Ontario as well. And so with that said, obviously the background is a little different, and you might have guessed, that's right, I am in a moving vehicle, and I think this is the 401 in Ontario. We are currently en route from Ottawa to Waterloo. So today, since I don't have my little slides in front of me right now, and as I mentioned, it might be just a very different session compared to the first 19 episodes so far. And this actually is inspired by one of the students in the community, and she asked me, what do you do to overcome the anxiety and the stress while doing a deal when you're having a lot of doubts whether or not this is going to go through, or you're just kind of really feeling unsure about things? And I figure, you know what? 2 heads are better than one. Today, 3 heads are better than one. So it's my daily dose with Tim, Ray, and Ryan today. I mean, Ryan Carr is our mentor and trainer at Trust Your Talent, and you know, we like to call him an award-winning mentor as well, and he has. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually turn the camera around, and Ryan's driving, so he's just gonna talk into it, okay? And Ray is also with me right here. So let's see how I'm gonna do this. Okay, here we go. Hang on a second. Turn the camera around. There we go. Okay, everybody can see you now. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, I know Ryan's sort of waving right now. However, yes, he's gonna have to drive carefully. So here we go. So how would you overcome, or how do you overcome? You know what, might be better if I just pass the phone to you anyway, so that you can speak directly in the camera. Here we go.
Hello. So the question was, how would I tackle on anxiety and preparation for a deal?
Even as you're going through a deal.
As I'm going through a deal, okay. I like to make sure I take everything that's going on my mind, and as a visual and kinesthetic learner, write it down, pen and paper, to visualize it. That way I can see exactly what's going on. Like, I want to write down all of the cons, everything that can go sideways, look at it, and then on the other side of that piece of paper, because I folded it in half, write down all the things I can benefit from, all the pros. And then from there, review my cons, look at my education, talk to my network. How can I overcome that? Reach out to my mentor. How can I overcome that? Because more often than not, and this is the case with me and a lot of people I've spoken to, we often overblow things, make things bigger than they seem in our head. And so writing it out, taking it out of our head, makes it more real. And because it's not milling around in there, then we can strategize around it and do something about it. So in terms of what's going on a deal, even from the preparation to the execution and the completion, I like to do that when I'm in a place of, oh my goodness, there's a lot of things going on. How can I tackle this? That's my approach. All right.
I mean, I think we all have, something different. I mean, albeit, whether it be tools or mindset. And we're just about to come up to a parking lot. So I'm going to give the camera to Ryan at the very last here. So I'm going to share my response actually to that question, is that I remember distinctively back in 2011. I know I'm constantly dating myself during these episodes. So back in 2011, a lot of you know that I was still holding a corporate job. And that year, I remember working my tail off to make sure that I would hit target and I would get the bonuses. And for those of you who have enough life experience to remember what happened during the global financial crisis period, this was basically recovery time for our economy. And I was still living and working in Edmonton, Alberta, where I still live. And so what happened was that year I worked extra hard. And many of you who have heard my story, you remember me saying I was working literally 80 hours a week, if not more. I literally had no life. My life was my job. I lost my identity as a result. However, I found a lot of meaning in my work back then because I still got to support people. And so what that meant was I was supporting teams between Victoria, BC, all the way to Toronto, Ontario. And long story short, I'm pretty sure I made my year and I was eligible to get my bonuses at the beginning of 2011. So usually February every single year is when we have the annual reviews with our directors, with our management team. And so it would determine how much percentage in raises we were getting, plus how much we were getting at our bonuses. And so what was happening that year was that I pretty much already know that there was a bit of a glitch in the way that things were being tracked, meaning in the computer system, it was showing that I did not make my year. However, both myself and my direct supervisor knew that I did. And so I had already started an audit process to prove that I am eligible and qualify for my bonuses. And it worked out to be about, I think, $30-something thousand back then. And back then, $30-something thousand was big money. Not to say it's not big today, it's still meaningful. However, it was literally big money for me. And like most people trapped in a rat race, what do we tend to do? Well, that's why when I say I can relate and empathize in a lot of situations, I do, because I was thinking and behaving the exact same way as the majority of the people that are still trapped in the rat race. I already thought that money was that bonus was coming, so I pre-spent it. I decided to get the basement in my house done, already spending that money, thinking that that was going to come. And so February came around. I know it was going to take a little bit longer for me to prove that I actually did qualify and was eligible for my bonus. And 2 more months went by. One day I got this email, a very long email. For those of you who have worked in office or corporate environments, you understand, because at this point, I've started a thread where it came from me to my direct supervisor, to my senior management team, to the executives, and then to the senior VPs. And then rolling back and in between, we got other support evidence from the other departments as well to audit the results and provide documentations. And after all is said and done, I got a 1-line email back from my senior VP at the time, and it says, Tell Tim to be a team player. The books for 2010 have already closed. And that moment, I mean, I don't even want to go into, sharing with you what that really felt like on a very deep level. At the same time, though, when this question was asked of me, what do I do to handle my anxiety and the stress that come with doing a big deal, especially maybe you're venturing out into a brand new strategy, a brand new market, and much bigger deal that you've never done in the past, I always bring myself back to that moment. I always bring myself back to that very moment, simply because of the fact that that moment just made me feel completely useless. Useless is one of the words that I will use. However, completely, I had no control over my own life, my own destiny, my own decisions whatsoever. And so again, if I'm actually already getting some sort of stress and anxiety from doing a deal, as an educated investor, I know that the reason why I even chose and decided to embark on this deal in particular is the fact that I know after stabilization, I'm going to be getting cash flow. I'm going to be building my long-term wealth at the same time. There is money to be made, and I have 100% control of how I make money. And so this is the thing, and I've also been sharing over the last few episodes now, is that your exit strategies determine how you make money and how much money you make. And so this is why I bring myself, and this is more of a, soft story. It's not as structured as Ray's, and I cannot wait for you guys to, hear what Ryan has to share as well. But for me, it always brings me back to that moment where I felt that I had zero control over my own life, my own financial future, and more importantly, the 80 hours a week that I had sacrificed creating results and making money for this company before. And so to me, everything else just seems relatively easy to navigate through once I can regain my confidence and, give myself a little pep talk. So that's my approach. And obviously, if you guys are curious, comment in the comments section, and I'm more than happy to share the steps and the tools that I would also use, kind of like what Ray shared as well. However, at this point, again, today is my daily dose with Tim, Ray, and Ryan. So now I'm gonna hand the phone over to Ryan so he can share with you how he would deal with a situation like this.
Hey, good morning. I guess I should say good afternoon, everyone. It's shortly afternoon here in Ontario, so appreciate Tim bringing me on. And I'm sorry it took me a few minutes here to get on, but we are parked and safe, so probably not the best idea to be doing something like this while I'm driving, of course. I want to make sure that everyone gets home safe. But anyway, so, dealing with stressful situations, invariably they happen. You're going to get that swift one to the upper cranium, so to speak, from time to time, and
it's not always rainbows and butterflies.
Absolutely, as Tim said, not always rainbows and butterflies, for sure. And personally, I think that it's needed sometimes. If it becomes easy, we become complacent. And a quick story, if you'll indulge. Some of you know that myself and our partners are great partners. We were fortunate enough to close on a larger acquisition a little over, around a year ago now, a 60 unit. And we decided to level up because we had, to some degree, become complacent and comfortable. And we inadvertently realized this because we actually had a closing day and everything was lined up, financing, everything was in place. However, the only reason we remembered closing day was when a calendar alert came up on our phone half an hour prior to a virtual signing for paperwork for a 12-plex. And, I don't say that to beat the chest and to be braggadocious or anything like that, but it just became clear to us that, wow, this was kind of becoming automatic. And to some degree, that's a good thing about real estate investing. Tim mentioned control. And that is the great thing. You have processes, you have standard operating procedures, so to speak, for those of you that came from the corporate world like Tim and I. And they are important, and you don't want to compromise on those. However, they can be scaled up, scaled down to whatever scope of opportunity you see fit. And so just to quickly tie back to that story and then move on, we decided we wanted to scare ourselves again, and which was why we moved on to a larger acquisition, being that 60 unit. And now for those of you that were recently at the multifamily conference, a lot of people talked about going bigger sooner, and that's something, just a quick other point that I would encourage people to do. Don't be afraid. Stretch outside of your comfort zone, because that is where growth happens. However, to bring it back to the core question, do not compromise on those steps, those standard operating procedures. And that's what really can, in my opinion, help to dispel and squash those fears. I've asked the question of mentees in the past, well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, of course, right? So any task that seems large and insurmountable, when you truly take the time to pause, take a deep breath, reflect, and go back to your learnings. Again, also super important, right? Being an educated investor, you have your fundamentals, you have your standard operating procedures, the steps you need to take, your due diligence, including yourself and your power team, enlist those people and their expertise. And wherever you happen to get stuck or wherever you happen to get blindsided, look at, okay, what were the steps prior? What are the steps that come after this? And, where do we need to kind of rewind the tape and look at where things might have gone wrong? And evaluate it and take it step by step, because those steps never change. They are fundamental, and it's just the scope of the opportunity that changes and that may create that fear. But I've always found whenever you compromise on those fundamentals, those standard operating procedures, you will get bit. It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. They're there for a reason. So, become educated, understand intimately the steps required, the standard operating procedures, line up with a mentor, because, when you have those oh poop moments, that call or that text to that mentor, can be something that helps to squash that fear. I know for me early on, before some of the, what's the word I'm looking for here? The mileage, I guess, if you will, before I had experience, I guess is a good way to put it. Sorry, brain fart there for a second. I guess I need caffeine. But until that experience kind of mounted up, it was that mentor that I turned to for some of those questions. And in fact, he's sitting right beside me. Full circle. But, as I said, break it down, take a deep breath and think about it logically. Logic will always prevail. Logic, numbers, they always speak the truth. There is really no room for gray. So let those things speak to you, whether it's numbers, whether it's data from an engineer, if perhaps it becomes structural issues, but leverage the proper professionals. So let logic prevail. So that would be how I would overcome fear.
That's awesome. Well, there you have it. 3 different perspectives, 3 different approaches on how you deal with the anxiety and the stresses that come with doing deals. And I mean, ideally, if you can relate to this, you're already knee deep into a deal. If you haven't even started, that's also fine. If the idea of even just getting started is creating anxiety for you, then for us, a lot of the times it really is revisiting your why, your big purpose. What is going to bring you meaning? Because we oftentimes say that money doesn't really make you happy. However, having access to enough money is going to create options that will bring you a bit more joy and ease in life. So those 2 things are massively, massively different. So on that note, well, I'm just gonna say thank you for joining me again for today's My Daily Dose with Tim. And I know it's very different. And let me know if you actually like this format, because I'm not always going to be in a studio where I can have the laptop on and the perfect lighting and have the slideshows ready or have my flip chart ready. So if you like this format, I'm happy to do it this way as well, because if you remember, my entire hope, and sincerely so, with My Daily Dose with Tim, is to really just to share and push financial education for a bit forward, one day at a time. And ideally, you also get the chance to really learn about real estate as an asset class, and also real estate investing as a tool to create multiple sources of income and long-term wealth for yourself. So on that note, I hope you're in a place where, oh my goodness, it's already 29 degrees. At this point, it looks like it's going to be going up to about 34, 35 degrees Celsius. So enjoy the beautiful weather if you also have it, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will be back next Monday with the next episode, which I believe is going to be episode 21. So on that note, have a great rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend. Live full, everybody.